Just did. Okay.
Okay. Second thing in the housekeeping is I do get distracted. So I'd love it if people put their questions in the chat and Jonathan will facilitate that chat and he'll interrupt me if it's like a very timely in the moment question. If it's not, we're going to hold them to the end. I will stay as long as you all want. I love talking about this topic. So I have freed up my afternoon till 3 p.m. We're not going to be here till 3, but just so you know. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to bring up share screen. Did I forget anything from a housekeeping standpoint, Jonathan?
I think we're good.
Okay, rock and roll. Let me get the old share screen up. You'd think since I do this multiple times a week or, multiple times a month, I'd be better at it. Okay. Move that down. All right, this is mastering your productivity and unlocking your full potential at work. Because I am an ADHD coach, I usually give this as an ADHD presentation. So if I forget, just substitute the word overwhelmed, because sometimes I accidentally say ADHD and really it's just as much. Dealing with this has much as to do with just being overwhelmed. We're living in a world where we're constantly being interrupted. There's tons of things going on. So bear with me. All right. So what are the takeaways from today? What are you going to learn? You're going to learn why you struggle with time management. And what's the number one trick to stop struggling with time management? And if you get nothing else from today, literally nothing else, the most important thing you need to know is you have to make priorities. If you're not prioritizing your time, time is managing you. You're not managing your time. You're going to learn the 3 myths about time, and you're going to learn what you need to make time work for you, not against you. So number 1 is to pause. And y'all are probably sitting here saying, are you kidding me? I'm too busy. I don't have time to pause. You're insane. But the bottom line is, in order to be able to sit down and plan and prioritize and know who you are and what you want to do, you've got to take time to pause. So you're going to do less. I know that sounds horrifying, but it's true. And the problem is that this is the hardest to do when we're overwhelmed. Our default is, oh, we got to check one more thing off the list. I've got to get one more thing done. What you really need to do is step back and take a moment so you can plan and prioritize. I call this being intentionally unproductive. What does that mean? It means that you set an intention for unproductive time. What's happening is a lot of us, our brains are done. We're toast. We're crashed out on the couch. We're watching CSI, or we're playing Candy Crush on our phones, guilty as charged, because our brains are done. We can't do anything more and we're just toast. But if you could carve out time in your week where you set time aside to be intentionally unproductive, real true downtime, your body and your brain gets it now. They're like, oh, wow, we're relaxing now. We're hanging out with family. We're sitting by the pool where maybe you're actually intentionally playing a little Candy Crush. Got to be honest, I have a little time in my day where I carve out to actually play some games on my phone. So you need to send that signal to your brain and to your body that you're intentionally having downtime. The other way, it just doesn't work, because what's happening is now the chatter in your brain is saying, oh, you shouldn't be playing Candy Crush. You should be doing that report for Mrs. Jones. And you're not really getting true downtime. So myth number 1, we can manage time. We absolutely cannot manage time. Time ticks away 168 hours each week, no matter what we do or how we do it. So what can we do? We can manage our energy. And I'm going to show you a couple things around our energy. But the first thing I'm going to say about managing your energy is knowing what times of the day are you high energy and what times of the day are you low energy. And then you're going to slot your tasks in your day. If you can, I understand some people have less flexible schedules where, your highest priority focused work is happening during your highest energy times of the day. And then your low priority work, maybe that's making phone calls, maybe that's sending out invoices. That happens in your low energy time of the day. Okay, So y'all are going to hate me, but here's the bottom line. I have a method that I work with my clients. It's called the SENSE method. It stands for sleep, exercise, nutrition, systems, and environment. And I'm going to start with the first three, which I always start with my clients, which is sleep. So if you're like me and you have ADHD, your brain is, like I said, that 50 tabs open, etc. A deprived sleep brain looks like an ADHD brain. You can't focus because you don't have enough sleep. I'm not going to tell you how many hours of sleep to get because we all vary. For me, I really need 6 to 7 to be functioning. If I get 4, y'all don't even want to be near me. And no amount of coffee is going to help. I am a disaster on 4 hours of sleep. So, and actually, thankfully, I have like sleep routines where I kind of wind down each night. I turn off all the blue light devices a good hour before I go to sleep. I read a book. I chill out. I have a whole little nighttime routine. So if you don't have a nighttime routine of some kind yet, I strongly encourage it. It really does help you start to settle down and get to sleep. So what's happening when you don't sleep? Memory loss. You find it hard to problem solve. You're less emotionally regulated. You know, you might be a little more snippy than normal. And you're going to crave sugar and carbs, which is going to take us straight to exercise. Yeah, especially as we age, we really need to exercise. If you can get out in nature to exercise and actually be in the outdoors, that's even better for boosting dopamine and serotonin and releasing the endorphins you need. In ADHD brains, we actually really crave them. We have a shortage of them. If you're overwhelmed, you're stressed out, etc., you're also craving those, and you need to get out, take a walk. It's going to help you focus, pay attention better, reduce your stress and anxiety. If you want to learn more about this, by the way, sleep, exercise, and nutrition are not my areas of expertise. Systems and environment are. I bring these up because without these as your stable basis, those pillars underneath you, you're going to collapse. But John Ratey wrote a book, Ratey, called Spark, and it's great. It's all about this whole science behind the exercise connection. Next is nutrition. You got to eat healthy. It fuels your brain. It helps you have energy. Don't skip breakfast. Talk to your nutritionist about ideas of how you eat. I got on a real healthy eating kick about 5 months ago. I've dropped almost 20 pounds. It really makes a difference in my energy level and in my way of managing my overwhelm and my ADHD because I eat healthier. Okay. So I guess you picked up that I struggle too. Here I am in my office. This is a couple of years ago, organizing a bunch of paperwork, setting up a productive environment. I was diagnosed with ADHD at age 55. I was diagnosed with cancer actually 8 years ago, September 11th. So it's a very recent anniversary for me. I am completely cancer free. Jonathan, can you admit Bonnie?
I just did. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I forgot to talk to you about that ahead of time. Through the cancer diagnosis and afterwards, the chemo brain is when I realized that I might have a more underlying issue. And that's how I went on the ADHD journey, was discovering that, you know, my chemo brain was sticking around. I actually kind of like that I can still kind of blame it on chemo brain, which is crap. I have to blame it on ADHD. So if you're feeling a little bit like, oh, you have it all together, believe me, there are moments, and I definitely struggle with this too. But imagine if you didn't have to struggle so much. Just imagine what it'd be like if you knew how you were spending your time and if you were better prepared when time throws you a curveball. And that happened to us just on Monday, where we quickly had to move some seniors in my family around in order to better accommodate some of their needs. And I was able to still get things done, do this presentation. Old me would have just called Jonathan and said, yeah, we got to put it off. There's no way I can manage this. But I was able to do that. That's because I have these systems in place. So you can have that too. So this next thing to know about is after the pause is you're going to want to do a time audit if you haven't already. And it's not a lot of fun to do them. I've done them in the past, but you need to write down what you're doing in half-hour increments and see where your time is going. It's really important. You can actually visualize it and see it. I do have time trackers. If anybody needs one, I can provide it for all of you. Not a problem. You want to write it down without any judgment to it. One of the things you could do is sort of write a note. Was I high energy at this time? Was I low energy? That'll help you start to see where in your day you've got more energy to do certain things. You don't want to do this on the days you're on vacation because that's not your normal routine. Probably not the weekend. You probably want to do this like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It'll help you see how long projects are taking too. As an ADHDer, I'm notoriously bad at time estimating. I really had to constantly write down how long projects were taking for clients so that would have a good sense of what to charge them. This is back when I was an interior designer and I charged on a project management basis. Now I'm a coach, so it's different. I have set pricing. But back then it was mission critical. So depending on what kind of job you have, no matter what, it's a good idea to do a time audit. Okay, so that leads us to myth 2. Procrastination is a time management problem. It's not at all a time management problem. What it is it's an emotional regulation problem. So what happens is we procrastinate, then we feel guilty, then we panic, and then we make excuses, right? So if we were to take Monday, procrastinating, putting this presentation together, that's actually, in this case, wasn't true. The presentation was together probably Friday. And actually I lied, Thursday, because Friday we went to Penn State for a football game. And then you would feel guilty. And now that's just getting in your own way, right? Because all that guilt feeling. Now you're in a panic, you're trying to get it done, you're scrambling. And if you're not going to be able to get it done in time, you're going to be making excuses and saying, Jonathan, I'm sorry, I can't do the presentation on Wednesday. So that's the procrastination cycle. It is not about time management. It's about something that's emotionally getting in your way, a block of some kind on getting something done. So for me, I hate bill paying. I literally have to put in my calendar twice a month where I'm paying bills because I won't do it otherwise because I hate it so much. I don't know why. I have money in the account. I just have this mental block around doing bill paying. So pick your thing. You probably have one. And there's going to be some strategies here on how to deal with that and kind of defeat this beast of procrastination. All right. So time tracking tools. I talked a little bit about writing down everything you do each day in a half hour, in the increments. Tools you can use. There's something called Toggle, Toggl. These are all online tools. There's a tool called Harvest, just like it sounds. And then there's something called Timular. And I don't have mine written on because I don't want to mess it up. So this is not the cheapest option, but you buy it online and you can plug it in so it goes into your computer. And what you do is you put each, you see it on there, the writing, the reading, you put it on each little side. And then anytime you're going to that task, you just set it down on that task. And that's the task you're working on. And you just keep flipping the block. And then you can pop the, USB cord equivalent. I'm not technologically person, so I can't tell you what this is called. In here, plug it into your computer, and then it will download all the information for you so you know where you're spending your time. So if you're kind of a person who's, there's different kinds of people. I don't know if you know this learning wise. There's people who are audio oriented who learn by listening. I know there's a word for that. I just lost the word. There's people who are kinesthetic. They want to feel, they tap into the feelings and emotions and actual physical things. And then there's visual people who learn best by seeing. So the more you can tap into whichever type of person you are for your systems, use systems that honor who you are as a learner, the better off you will be. So I'm a visual kinesthetic. I do best by seeing and doing, and not the best by listening to things. But that's just me. All right. Let's see if I missed anything here. Laura Vandekam, She wrote the book 168 Hours. She runs a time tracking challenge. I'm not sure when the next one is going to be. I've actually done it. It's 5 days and it's pretty intense, but it gives you a great sense of how to track time. So the third strategy for time management is to plan. And there are a lot of benefits, right? You can have increased productivity because you've got a structured schedule. You reduce your stress because you know where you're spending your time and you're actually getting things done. And believe it or not, and I know a lot of people say, well, planning holds me in a box. It means I don't have the creativity. I don't have the free time. This actually frees up your time. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but it actually really works. And what I'm trying to do with my clients is help them reclaim time for their weekends, their weeknights, where they're not constantly working. So what's the first thing you can do? You can do a brain dump. So show and tell. I already did one. Now I'm doing another. This is the show and tell portion. So it's a brain dump. I'll try to get this close so you can see. See how I brain dump up there and see how I said, remind Jonathan to record. And then I just dump out whatever's going on in my head. So when is this good? This is good when you're really overwhelmed and you can't figure out what's next to do and you can't even begin to think about prioritizing. Is to just dump this out. Now I have business up here, personal here, and Fenwick, we have a beach home there. And that way I kind of have it structured out a little bit ahead of time. You can do this any way you want. We learn by writing. This is the best way we learn, is to actually write things down. And then we get to do joyful things like cross it off. So here, I remind Jonathan to record. I get to cross that out. Yay. I don't know about you all. I still get a little kick, a little high out of crossing things off my list. All right. Next. Myth number 3, there's a perfect problem planner that will solve all your problems. There absolutely is not a perfect planner. If you found a perfect planner for you, God bless you. I have bebopped around a bit with different kinds of planners. I have since found out this has a lot to do with the ADHD brain. We like to have some variety. One of the ways, because there are ADHDers here, so I'm going to say this, one of the ways that you can help with that creativity piece, that need for novelty, is you could actually have more than one system and kind of go back and forth between the systems. Try not to do it too often because it could get really confusing. So life planning, etc., systems, you name it, is never about what you should use. They are about what you will use. All right. I had a client. I was using Asana at the time. I now use Todoist. Those are two different kinds of digital planners, who kept saying, I've got to use Asana. You use Asana. I'm going to use Asana. It's important to my business that I use Asana. And she kept struggling and struggling and struggling. And I finally said to her one day, I said, Diane, what planning system did you use before you got on this Asana kick? And she said, well, I used a paper planner. And I said, was it working for you? And she said, yes. And I said, then go back to the damn paper planner. Don't try to do something that isn't working for you. For her brain, a paper planner was the bomb. She loved it. I am not a paper planner, except for the thing where I write the brain dump. I do actually like to do this. And the other area where I like to plan paper-wise is to take Post-it notes and track things out. So if I'm creating a project, I'll put out the various tasks that need to be due, chunk down, and then schedule them all out on a calendar. Okay. Analog people, this is for you. These are the folks who like to actually use a paper planner. I am not you, but I can give you some ideas. So things you want to consider, by the way, if you're digital, keep your ears open because this applies for digital, some of this stuff too. Consider some factors like your layout. Do you want it daily? Do you want it weekly? Do you want it monthly? Do you want a big planner you're going to leave on your desk? Do you want a small planner and you can physically take with you in your briefcase, backpack, purse? What things would you like in that planner? Do you want like goal setting, habit tracking, etc.? And then you need to have, this is where we're going to tune in if we're digital, daily and weekly planning rituals. You really want to establish habits. Some people plan on Sunday nights. Some people plan on Monday mornings. There is no one right or wrong way. What's key is just to do it. Every morning, you want to take a quick look at today's schedule. The night before, it's great if you can quickly write down your 3 priorities for tomorrow. The reason, at least the first, the reason I say this is while you're sleeping, and no, it's not keeping you up. Remember, sleep was important. But while you're sleeping, your brain is working in the background, problem solving those priorities. So it's definitely a good thing if you can to write down a couple of your priorities the night before. And we're going to allocate time blocks for tasks. I'm going to show you how I do that in my calendar. Each week you want to plan your upcoming week. I said that like either Sunday night or Monday, and identify your key deadlines and milestones. In the Collaberex group this morning, our Wednesday group, we set our 90-day goals for the next 3 months so that we can all kind of help hold one another accountable. We're getting to that final quarter of the year. So it's really important that you write those goals down and know what they are, and then you're going to plug those into your calendar, schedule, planner, whatever you're going to be using. There are a whole bunch of different paper planners on the market. I know a lot of people who have ADHD love Full Focus Planner. I am not the expert on paper planners, so I would just say type in best paper planner on Google, see what pops up, take a look at different ones. I'm going to tell you most of them have demos online, so you can kind of see how they lay out and what they're like. I am going to recommend this, though. There is a podcast called Best Laid Plans, like the best laid plans of mice and men. Best Laid Plans is this awesome podcast. It's all about planners. So if you're a planner-aholic, go there and enjoy her awesome reviews of a whole bunch of different planners. She is fantastic. All right. This is how I plan. And this is a calendar from way back whenever. So you can see in here, I'm going to literally show you how you block and buffer. You want to start by identifying your top priorities. You want to allocate time blocks for those. And time blocking, one of the things it does is it discourages multitasking. So you'll see on here, you see these blue blocks that are focus time. That helps me know when I'm going to focus on anything. So you'll see actually the first day on here is Sunday. And I do have some focus time on Sunday morning. One of the things I do is I tend to take a couple hours on Saturday or Sunday to work because I really like to have Friday afternoon off to do something fun. And if you pop over to Friday, you'll see the big chunk that says Lisa B in yellow, the granola bar. That's a girlfriend. We're having lunch. Yellow is my personal time. I would rather have a little bit of time during the week. That's for me. And I push a little of my work time into the weekends. You can lay this out however you want, especially if you work for yourself, because if you work for yourself, you can make your own hours and decide when you want to do what you want to do. Purple is family time. I color code. It helps my brain to see things in color. It helps me see, am I spending enough time? Like the green is the times that I was networking with people or running my group power hour or coaching clients. And then you'll see the other green here, a Collaberex meeting. That was a networking meeting I was attending. So this is a non-facilitating week. You're seeing here. Red is anything that's just absolutely so critically important. I can't forget it. You'll notice there's very little red on here. Because if you just load the whole damn thing with red, your eyes aren't going to be drawn to it. You're not going to pay attention to it. Orange is any training I'm taking. What have I forgotten in here? I talked a little bit about yellow, which is my personal. Yeah, I think that really shows you how I time block. Mondays are what I call my focus days. I try really hard not to put any business meetings into Monday from 11 until say 4, so that I can do a deep dive on a project. Then you'll see on Friday, it says GSD Day. That stands for Get Stuff Done, or insert whatever S word you like. And when I was talking earlier about how there are certain things you have to get done that you don't want to do, that's where I slot them. I slot them on Friday, and then I make sure that I do something really amazing Friday afternoon and afterwards so that I feel like, oh, I got this done. And now I get to go play and have fun and enjoy myself. Really important to pair something really fun with something you really don't love doing, because it'll motivate you to get it done. Other things I do on a GSD day. So this is like my buffer day. What does that mean? That means that if something came up on Wednesday where I couldn't get any of that focus time, I can slide it into my buffer day on Friday to make sure I get it finished before the week ends. All right. What else can I tell you? Yes, this looks super rigid, but I think you can see I have lots of free time in this week to enjoy myself, to have personal time, to be with friends, to be with family. So um, it feels not flexible, but it has actually allowed me to have more flexibility. And when you begin time blocking, start small. Don't overwhelm yourself right out of the gate. Set realistic time blocks. You can see, I really, when I do focus time, I try to set a big chunk of time. And I tend to have that earlier in the week because that's when I'm trying to get projects done for the week, whether that's follow up with clients or whatnot. Have that buffer time. I talked about that with the GSD day, and then really try to stick with this. Now, sometimes things are going to come up. Now you're going to take your time block and you're going to move it in your calendar to a different time so you don't blow it off and not get it done. And then review it at the end of the week. Take a look on Friday. How did the week go? Did things really get moved out? Were you able to get as much done as you were hoping to get done? And if not, why did something come up? Or was it that you just way underestimated the amount of time a certain project was going to take? This is the review part is really important. All right, prioritizing. This is the biggie, right? There are a bunch of methods for prioritizing. I'm going to take you through a couple of them. You can do like an ABCD method where you say tasks that are A or tasks that you must do, B are the should to do's, C or the nice to do's, and D are the delegate or eliminate. So you can prioritize based on that. So you would take something like this brain dump, and then you would, put in A, must do, tell Jonathan to record, right? And maybe this tax thing, I'd love to be able to delegate it out. I actually can't, but let's pretend I could delegate that out. Wouldn't that be grand? We'll talk about delegating. 2-minute rule. When you're doing anything, if you've got a task that's going to take 2 minutes, it might make more sense to just go ahead and get that task done than to put it down on your list to do later, because you can just kind of quickly crank it out. So that's the 2-minute rule. And the last one, which I'm sure all of you know, is the Pareto principle, Pareto, which says that, see if I can do this right. The tasks, 80% of the tasks you do, 20% of the tasks you do are going to bring you 80% of your desired results. So you really want to spend your time in that 20% that's the most effective towards getting to your results. If you're spending your time in the 80%, you're done spinning your wheels and you're wasting your time. So as you're looking at your time audits, as you're prioritizing, you're really getting a sense of what are your top priorities, and then you're spending more time on them. All right. This is a redone Eisenhower matrix. Eisenhower, he divides everything into 4 categories: urgent, urgent and important, urgent and not important. Boy, I'm going to botch this. Not important, not urgent. Important, not urgent. And what happens is we spend the majority of our time in the urgent and important tasks. And sometimes we never get to the important and not urgent tasks. So what Julie Gray did here was she rethought this matrix, and I've kind of tweaked it a little to be more about delegate, genius zone, avoid, and comfort zone. So it's very similar, but it's kind of more towards, it's more ADHD brain friendly, in my opinion. So anything you dislike, but is valuable, you delegate out. So classic case in point for me is bookkeeping. Y'all heard I already don't like doing bills. All my invoices are automated. In a way, automation is like delegation, right? I've got it all automated. My clients pay on a monthly basis. I never have to deal with that piece. I obviously have to track it and pay attention to it, but I don't have to physically send invoices out. So delegate is anything that's disliked but valuable. You want to go find really smart people to do these things for you. Anything you're going to avoid is anything you dislike and isn't valuable. I'm trying to think of something that's not that I do in my life that's not valuable. It may not be valuable to you to have a special meal on the table 5 days a week because you're not much of a cook. So maybe you can find a different way to get meals on the table without cooking them yourself. Um, your genius zone is anything you like to do that's also valuable. So I like to work with my clients. It's valuable because I make money, right? That's a bottom line. Comfort zone is anything you like, but isn't valuable. So a lot of us get stuck in the comfort zone. I love to create social media posts. They may or may not be the most valuable use of my time on any given day. So everybody kind of clear on this? I see a couple of squinched up, confused faces. So I want to make sure everybody gets it. I am, by the way, happy to send out the slides so you'll have a copy of this. No big deal at all. All right, where am I? Cut tasks off your list. So you want to subtract as much as you can out of your to-do list. That's why I tell my clients 3 priorities, and those priorities, I'd say 2 business priorities and 1 priority that hits in that self-care, sleep, exercise, nutrition kind of quadrant. It might be meditation, it might be something else, but you want to subtract stuff out. I joke that I want this t-shirt that says "Not today, Satan," because I feel like that's like my life. So not today, Satan. Push those things off your to-do list if they're not your most important priorities. As much as you can. You also need to subtract stuff out of your environment, declutter, get organized. That's a whole other presentation. The average worker loses 2 hours a week just searching for documents. So if you need a little help with organizing, I also do that specifically for the office. If it's your kitchen, you're going to have to find somebody else. I only do office. All right. Add. This goes back to that very first category of putting the oxygen mask on first, taking care of yourself. There's the power is in the pause. You need to stop, and in time for you, put it in your schedule. You saw, I literally put in where I exercised, where in the time of day, when I exercised, when I was meeting with friends for a lunch, or when I was spending time with family. It's really important you slot that stuff in. I actually, when I sit down with my calendar, the very first thing I put in my calendar is my vacation. Partly because it's a family value and a high priority, partly because, and this is less of an issue now because I have a college kid, but it was that we had to put the vacations when our child was available to go on vacation. So really important you put this time into your calendar. So you're subtracting baloney stuff you don't really have to do so that you can add in this personal time. All right. The 5th strategy, we're here. How are we doing on time, Jonathan? I think we're pretty good.
We pretty good. We got about 20 minutes.
So teamwork makes the dream work. You can't go this alone. It's really, really important to offload tasks you don't want to do, have them with have other people do them. You'll free up your time. If you're delegating stuff out, you're reducing your stress, right? Because you're having someone else do it. Yes, there is a learning curve to someone else doing something for you. However, once they know how to do it, they can take over a lot of the stuff. So I have a VA, she's in the Philippines. She runs all the images you see on social media. She does all that. She creates all the marketing images. She knows what my style is. We have like a style guide, so she knows exactly which fonts we use, etc. And I can just leave that all to her to handle. Here we go. This is one of those things that's in the comfort zone. I love to create stuff like this, but it's not really the most valuable use of my time. It is really hard for me to not actually just create all my own images and things. It was a big deal to delegate it out to her. So if you're struggling with delegating stuff, no, you can't. You can do it. Even the things you love to do can be delegated out if they're not the best use of your time. It's way easier to build new habits and delegate things out, etc. if you have a work buddy, an accountability partner. We also call this body doubling. So that comes actually from organization land, where you have someone who's physically present in some way. In my group, we do something called Productivity Power Hour, where we're present virtually. So What does this mean? We get on a call, Zoom call. We all say what we're going to work on now. Then we all mute our microphones like you've all done now. And for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, we work on whatever that thing is. And then at the end, we virtually high five and we go on our way. Clients have gotten incredible results with this. I had a client who could not get her office organized, and she would come to Power Hour and she got her office organized, and it's amazing. Another client never invoiced her clients. She couldn't understand why she wasn't getting paid and why she wasn't making money in her business. Well, she wasn't making money in her business because she wasn't invoicing her clients. So she'd come to Power Hour and do that dreaded task, that task she never wanted to do. Because what was she getting? She was getting extrinsic accountability. Someone outside of her was saying, you've got this, you can do this. So let's make this happen. Let's get those invoices out, right? And at the end of the 50 minutes, she had invoiced people. A few weeks later, she says to me, this is unbelievable. I'm getting checks all the time. Because you're invoicing people. It's like, I'm making money in my business and I didn't even know I was. Yeah, isn't that great? So it's amazing what can happen. Make sure you keep evaluating things you do. When you're delegating, you really have to pay attention to what your people are doing when you're working with them and make sure there's still the right resources for you. Find experts, outsource to experts whenever you can. There's no way I'd be surviving my business without a very competent accountant and bookkeeping team. They are on top of everything. Yes, I know what's happening because I'm paying attention to it, but they are the ones who are helping keep me out of trouble with Uncle Sam. So make sure you use the resources you have available to you. And I'm going to make a big plug for Collaberex here. We have fantastic resources in Collaberex. So if you aren't sure who to talk to, pick a Collaberex buddy and say, hey, who do you know? They'll be happy to help you find someone. All right. I'm not doing a huge plug. I'm doing a very mini, teeny, tiny, just to say that I'm about to start a brand new program. It's called the ADHD Focus Framework. You do not have to have ADHD. It is going to talk about systems and how you set up your physical environment to work in your office to be more organized. It starts September 25th. Reach out to me with questions. That's all I'm going to do for a plug. Would love to see you in it. And this is how you contact me. The Productivity Breakthrough is what I have. With my clients for about an hour. We discuss whatever struggles and challenges you're having, and we determine whether or not I'm the right fit for you as a coach. Email support@catherineavery.com for any questions you have with me. I am happy to answer them. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. I'm some form of Catherine J. Avery in those various places. And I'm just going to leave this slide up and answer any questions because I see the chat has been doing some exciting things. Unless you want me to leave the screen and come back and just be people. What do you prefer, Jonathan?
I like the people, and we can always, re-show the screen after the question to the end. So
that works for me. Yes. Share. Okay, here we are. Oh, I like that better too.
right. So
hit me with questions, Jonathan.
Okay, so I want to talk about Michelle's question about exercising and tips on what you think keeps you mentally healthy. And then Patty seemed to respond to about a system for exercising. Do you have any, she writes, she used the system like a 10-minute workout or a 20 to 30-minute workout or a 45 to 60-minute workout. And she schedules it in her thing. But Michelle, just, was that your yoga mat?
Nice.
Oh,
okay.
Foam roller.
Oh,
Okay.
foam roller. Yeah. So similar. I block 30 to 60 minutes for exercise. I walk with my neighbor and her dog. So I have an accountability partner in the exercise department. That is the only way I will exercise, is if I have an accountability partner. I'm very extrinsically motivated. You probably have all caught on to that in this presentation. So she and I walk about 5 days a week. And on days that we're not walking, she's asking me, did you walk today? And I'm asking her, so did you get out and walk today? Or she also has an exercise class she goes to. We're now talking, because I have blown off doing Tai Chi, about taking a Tai Chi class together. so that I get back into Tai Chi. So yeah, if you're really struggling with exercising, see if you can find a buddy. That's the
Yeah.
only thing I'd add to that. Yeah, time blocking it and having a buddy.
Michelle, if you want to unmute and add anything to that,
Oh, please jump in.
if you could, there you go. Nope. Uh, no, can't
I
hear
don't know
you.
why we can't hear Michelle. Darn it. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. I find that anything that you do regularly, and I agree with, I'm not the type of person, it just doesn't work for me. It works for my wife. She does exercise, like by herself. She'll go swim or go for a walk or things like that. Me, I like to do groups.
You play
So it's
tennis?
all, I play tennis. So it's always who wants to play on Saturday, and getting games together and scheduling them in advance so they're in my calendar. So I know the next 2 weeks when I'm playing. So
I think there's something to be said for choosing an exercise that you enjoy doing. You're not going to do it if you don't enjoy it. So if you don't enjoy doing a workout on a video at home, then that's not the right exercise program for you. And really create something you really love. I love to walk. I love to walk outside. We will walk in the pouring rain and the snow, and we have actually had to dodge thunderstorms. That's how much we love to walk. Um, I'm not a person who's going to go take a spin class. Not my thing. I don't mind my Tai Chi class, but I'm not someone who like wants to go out to that. In the past I have joined gyms and been a part of that and loved it. I haven't gotten back to that, and I don't know if I will. A big driver on that is where we live now. The nearest gym is 15 minutes away. And if I have to get in my car to go somewhere to exercise for 15 minutes, that's 30 minutes of my day. And I just don't want to waste it in the car. That's just me. So if I had a gym around the corner like we used to, we were like 5 minutes to the gym with a baby. And that's 18 years ago with a baby. And my husband and I would alternate days at the gym. So, I went Monday, Wednesday, Friday. He went Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And it was great. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer anything.
I have,
I
I
have,
have a, go ahead. Who is that?
oh, it's Patty. Sorry, I'm not
Hey,
on camera.
Patty.
I'm parked in a parking lot here.
Okay.
Actually here, I can take my camera on. How you doing?
Hey, Patty.
So Catherine, first of all, amazing presentation. I love this topic and I learned so much. So thank you so much. Question for you, is there anything specific you do to help your clients overcome you said procrastination is more of an emotional block, which I completely agree with. And I'm just curious if you can comment more on that. Like, how do you actually help people unpack that, work through it? What, anything you can share?
Through coaching. So I really ask questions and sit in the space and try to help people work through wherever it is. So I'll give an example. One of my clients, emotional block around organizing her office happened to be because in that office space was a trunk that was filled with medical records about her daughter, a very difficult birth situation with her daughter. And that was kind of dragging her down. And so one of the first things we had to do was kind of get that trunk out of her office space so she could organize the rest of her office space and take that emotional element out, right? Then once she'd gotten the office space organized, she was able to bring the trunk back in and then systematically deal with the trunk. Ironically, she just told me, and it's very funny. Her husband, now that she cleared out and organized the trunk, got rid of it. He just got rid of it. And she's like, wait, that trunk is like the symbol of everything, like, and then it's gone. So we had a good laugh about that. But yeah, it's really making a safe space for my clients to talk through the challenges they have. Every person is different and everybody's stuff is different. We all come to things with emotions wrapped up in them, and it's unpacking them. And sometimes it's saying that emotion stuff is bigger than I'm meant to be handling as a coach, and then saying you need to take that to your therapist, or you need to get a therapist, either one.
Right. Got it. Yep.
There's
No,
a
thank
really,
you.
really important dividing line there that we have
I
to be really
know.
careful
I
not to
know.
cross as coaches. So I want people to realize, like, while I'm making space for people, I'm really cognizant of where that line is.
Mhm.
And that client I
Okay.
just told the story about actually has a therapist. So I knew. So we were working on it
Good.
together.
Other questions? I have questions.
Go for it, Jonathan. No one's
Okay.
holding you back.
Okay. So, you had mentioned something about setting 3 priorities the night before. And, I tend to do that too, except my problem is I start to set 3 and then I rate 10. So, and they don't get, and is there something, I it's scientifically or something that's better to like, I don't know, just 3 because I think, well, I could
Yes.
do this too, and I could do, oh, that won't take that long. And of
How many
course
do you really get done?
how many do I really get done? Maybe, maybe, well, to me, the way that I view it is how many do I need to get done? So at the end of the day, I think that it was a productive day. It could be 1, it could be 5, could be 10.
Okay.
But if
But
it's
how
a
are you
big one, if
feeling?
it's a big one, and I think I got this one thing done, that was huge, then that's a win.
How are you feeling when you're looking at your to-do list and you did one of the 10 activities and there's still 9 sitting there?
I delegate it to you. I call you up and
Pain in my butt.
right.
No, what I'm trying to get at
No,
is the
I
reason
know.
you
You
write like
feel crappy.
3 or
Yeah.
5 if you
Right.
want to, is because what you don't want to do is get to the end of the day and say, oh crud, I never got to these 7 things and now I feel lousy because it didn't get done. So really the point of writing it down to just 3 is not only helping you prioritize what's most important, but it's also about not feeling like an idiot at the end of the day. I don't know a better word for that. Sorry, that you didn't accomplish something. You don't want to like defeat yourself. You want to feel really good at the end of the day. Like I checked these things off my list. And I'm not saying those things have to be the easiest, peasiest things. Like, okay, I mean, who hasn't taken something on their to-do list and written it down after you've done it just so you could cross it through and say you accomplished something? Like, I'm all in on that. I love that ability to cross it off. Don't overwhelm yourself. I mean, it's better to have fewer things you were planning to do. And if you get to a 4th or 5th thing, hey, good for you. That's great.
Right.
But it's really a little bit of a mind game, right? It's making sure that we don't feel bad at the end of the day because we didn't cross 10 things off our to-do list.
Yeah. I also want to comment on something that you mentioned that someone that we both know very well does, which the person I'm referring to is Kevin, who does no meeting Thursdays.
Yes.
And you put it to Friday, but he breaks it up a little and he is strict about it. You cannot get a meeting with him.
I think that's fantastic. And I have to tell you, with the exception of a couple of clients who I really tremendously value, I don't make meetings on Mondays either. Except I run the power hour on Mondays because everybody wants to kickstart the week with that. And that's fine because during that power hour, I'm also working. But from 11 to 4, yeah, I'm really pretty strict. If someone comes in and says, look, the only time I can meet you is Monday at 2, I'll make it work. I mean, we have to be able to be flexible too. I know that sometimes Kevin moves his no meeting Thursday to a different day. So he does have a little bit of flexibility in there. But I think it's great.
Not for
He's
me.
honoring himself and he's honoring moving his business forward. And I think the reason he makes so much progress is because he keeps that day to get things done.
Yes, he does. He tries to do his big thinking on that day because a lot of
And there's a
stuff he
lot of big
does, he
thinking
needs to
in all our
pause.
jobs.
He has to focus.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's
He
very,
calls it
very
no
important.
meeting Thursday. I call it focus time. It's kind of similar. So I block it. So the focus time, people can't get in on my schedule. That doesn't mean that if you say, I'm going to make it up, Alex says, I really need to meet you Monday at 11 a.m. I'm probably not going to tell her no because Alex is important and valuable to me, right? So I'll make that time and then it's just noon to 4. But what it means is when you go into my scheduler and you're just trying to schedule and you're a Joe random person, you don't have access to me during that time. I've blocked it out.
Yeah.
But if you're on the phone with me and you say, I really want to meet at 11 a.m., I can look at my calendar and know I can slot you in. I actually had to do a few things to make it work so that the computer actually will put it in the calendar without rejecting your request. So if that ever happens to you, just know it's not personal. It's the way my calendar is set up, and just email me and I'll fix it.
Yeah. I also want to mention someone that you mentioned that does, what was her name? Laura Vanderkamp, is it?
Vanderkam, very
Cam.
famous in the world of
Right.
productivity and time management.
Right. So she has, I don't know if you used her TED Talk agenda on,
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
but I'll share it in the chat.
Great.
It's great. I mean, basically she says that it's the example she uses is there's no such thing as time management. There's just priorities.
Right.
And the
Which
example
is
that she
similar to
gives,
energy management. She's right.
right. And the example she gives is how her friend who had not a minute, always said to her, I wish I could have an extra day in the week. And the woman was just so busy and hard to, didn't have a second. Then her water heater broke and it flooded her basement. And she had to fix the water heater and she had to clean up the basement and she had to get a new one. And between everything that she did, it became a priority. She said it took about 7 hours. And she says, oh my God, I got another day in that week.
Yep. And that was, for me, that was cancer. When I thought, I walked around all the time, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. That was my refrain all the time. And then I had cancer and I discovered what it was to not have time for that, because I was busy fighting to feel better. And I had to learn how to prioritize. I just didn't have a choice. And we delegated out a lot, right? I had friends who made meals for us and things, but we really had to make some hard choices. And that's where I really delved deep into this work, was 8 years ago when I got that diagnosis.
Yeah.
Oh, good. You put the talk. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She's a really great gal. And I actually had the great pleasure of being able to, my friend Nancy runs a book club, and she knows Laura, and Laura's a client. So she ended up having Nancy do the book club. So the reason I did the 168 hours thing is leading up to the book club thing, they had us all do it, so that then when we were doing the book club, we were able to actually speak with knowledge and ask questions from a knowledge basis. There's a book called Your 168 by Harry Kramer, Value-Based Life. So it's the same idea of this 168 hours in a week. But I will definitely look into that book. Thank you so much. I know tons of resources and things. So if people want help with anything, I'm happy to help you. I'm here if you need me. That's what we're about here at Collaberex, is being here for one another. So hit me up with questions, emails, whatever you like. Jonathan, will you send out, I'll get you the presentation to send out to people, and I'll put it in a
send it out.
PDF. I'll put it in
Okay,
a PDF.
good. So thank you, everyone. If anyone wants to hang out, we can hang out for a few minutes. If you have questions that, you felt were too embarrassing to ask in a big group about how you're not getting stuff done, whatever, in a more intimate setting, Catherine and I will hang out for a few minutes. And this was really valuable. Thank you so much. So well done. We really appreciate it. This is the kind of content we want to provide everyone.
Thank
So
you
it
for
was
your
really
comment,
nice.
Mark. Can I use it as a testimonial, Mark? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's a yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Oh, y'all are the greatest. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're hanging out. Whoever wants to hang out and unmute. Great job, Catherine.
Thank you. This is my favorite topic.
Okay. I am going to stop the recording.